So in this video today, I'm going to be talking about signs that you are in survival mode and you don't even know it yet. So you've built something. You show up every single day. You do things that most people can't. And somehow in the middle of all that, you are more exhausted than you've ever been. And it's not like you just need rest. It's like something deep down inside of you is missing, and it's like it's running on empty. And for so long you felt that way that you forgot what full actually feels like. But I want you to stay with me a moment, because what I'm going to talk to you about today is probably one of the most important things that isn't talked about. So I am A. Simone Sims. I am a certified life coach and the founder of the Harmony Within Academy. So I help women who are successful on paper but are surviving on the inside. And if that kind of struck something with you, I want you to stay with me, because that is exactly what we're going to dive into today. We're going to talk about survival mode, how it looks, and why it's invisible to so many women. We're going to talk about why exhaustion is not a character flaw, it is actually a signal. Survival mode is not weakness. Survival mode is your nervous system response to prolonged stress, trauma, pressure, and instability. It was designed to protect you, and it was designed to keep you safe. And so it kicks in when life throws you something that you feel like you're not equipped enough to handle. But it does its job. It keeps you moving, it keeps you functioning, it keeps you showing up. But the problem is that survivor mode was never meant to be a permanent address. It was meant to be a temporary response. But a lot of women, especially women who have been responsible for a long time, for them, survivor mode is not just a season, it is actually a way of life. And here's why it is so hard to catch. It doesn't look like failure. It doesn't look like falling apart. It looks like holding everything together. It looks like strength. It looks like you. It is actually what strong women do so well that it becomes invisible, even to them. So here are some of the signs that I see most often in the women that I coach. So sign number one is that you can perform, but you cannot rest. So this is the first sign of you're operating and living in survival mode and you don't even know it. You can perform, but you can't rest. So you can work a 12-hour shift. You can manage a household. You can run a full team of people, and you can handle a crisis without flinching. But if someone asks you to sit still for 20 minutes with no agenda, with nothing required of you, you would not know what to do with that. You will feel like you're actually in a crisis mode when you're supposed to be resting. But when a crisis mode actually comes, you don't flinch. Rest feels uncomfortable to you. Quiet feels suspicious. And your nervous system has been on go mode for so long that stillness actually feels like danger. You know how that is? How you've been doing something for years. You know what's required of you. At your job, you know what's required. With your children, you know what's required. But when you actually get a moment of quiet, of still, that moment you say you always need, you don't know how to sit in it. You feel like there's danger, like there's panic. When you think about your child, and you know how, when they're at that age where they can go play in the room by themselves, and usually you hear the toys clashing and something going on, but all of a sudden it get real quiet and you panic. You do that same thing when it's just you and it's nothing for you to do, where you just need to sit in silence for 20 minutes. That is not a productivity preference. That is survival mode living in your body. So learning how to actually rest, not just recover, that's one of the first things that we do in coaching. In my coaching, that's one of the first things we do, because you cannot build a life that you love from a body that only knows how to survive. So yes, it can be done. Yes, you can move out of survival mode. And yes, it can be a permanent thing. Now we're going to go on to sign number 2. So sign number 2 is that you confuse being needed with being valued. Being needed and being valued are not the same thing. And I believe that you know that deep down inside. So I want you to think about this. When was the last time someone showed up for you in the way that you showed up for them? Not needing anything, not wanting to add to your to-do list, but actually wanting to check on you, the woman beneath the rose, beneath the titles, the badge, beneath the responsibility. When was the last time someone done that? And if you're honest, that does not happen very often. And honestly, you stopped expecting it to happen. You know, you've been okay being needed. You've tied your worth to your usefulness. You feel like being reliable is love. Always being needed is your purpose. You've confused that with being valued. Being valued is when someone shows up for you and they don't need you, or someone just checks on the woman beneath the rope. Being needed and being valued are not the same thing. And once a woman can clearly distinguish that there's a difference, everything in her life changes. So sign number 3 is your emotions feel inconvenience and not valid. So your emotions don't feel like they're valued. They're more like an inconvenience, like, who got time to deal with that? So when someone hurts you or when something hurts you, what do you do with it? Because most of the strong women that I know, they push it down. They file that in the back of their mind. They don't have time to feel that. Who got time to feel that? You know, when I deal with that later. That's the mind frame again. I don't got time to deal with all that. I'll deal with that later. You know? But the truth is that later never comes. The later never comes. When you feel like your emotions are an inconvenience and you'll deal with that later never comes. So we have to sit and think, what happens? That hurts just accumulates. You know, that disappointment stacks up. That grief goes unprocessed. Grief is not just, yes, you feel grief when a loved one passes away, but you can feel grief when a child moves out. You can feel grief when you're going through a breakup or divorce. And that stuff goes unprocessed when you are living in survival mode and you feel like that's just an inconvenience to what I got going on right now. That's not that valid. I don't have time to feel that. And I want you to know it comes out in other ways. Yeah, it comes out as irritability. It comes out as numbness. Like Iyanla Vanzant. I don't know if y'all know Iyanla Vanzant, but she loved to say the lights are on and nobody's home. And that is the way that comes out. Numbness. It comes out as snapping at the people you love the most. And that's what I used to do all the time. Yeah, I come home, I'm like the elephant. I'm finna make the house shake because I don't have time to deal with those emotions, and then they pile up and they explode. So your emotions are not an inconvenience, they are information. And when you stop listening to them, your body will find a way to make you pay attention. So your emotions are not an inconvenience. They are information. And once you start actually feeling them instead of just managing them, everything changes. They are a road, they are a map. That's what they are. So sign number 4 is that rest feels like a reward that you haven't earned yet. So sign number 4 is that rest feels like a reward that you have not earned yet. Rest is not a reward. Rest is a requirement. So tell me if this sounds familiar. You have a free Saturday with nothing to do. Nothing on your agenda, nothing scheduled, nothing on your calendar. And what do? You feel it. So instead of resting, you feel it. You start to clean something, you plan something, you work on something. Because in the back of your mind, resting while there is still work to do is you being irresponsible. Selfish even. It's almost like you haven't done enough to deserve rest. Once I reach this target of doing all this work, then I'll sit down and I'll take a break. Almost like you at work on a schedule. You know, like, you at work and you got to do all this work before you can go take a break. When you have a free day to yourself and when you're stuck in survival mode, you don't notice you operate from that same space. So the fact that it feels selfish for you to actually rest is how deep the conditioning of survival mode is. It's so deeply ingrained into your body. The belief that rest is a reward and not a requirement is one of the most damaging things that survival mode teaches us. So rest is not a reward. I have to repeat that because some people don't understand. It is a requirement. And learning how to receive rest without guilt is the work that you have to learn how to do. So sign number 5 is that you can't remember the last time you felt like yourself. Not the person who handles it all, not the strong one, not the capable one, not the one who's showing up for everyone else. You can't remember the last time you felt like you. The one who has dreams that are not on everybody's to-do list. The one who knows what she actually wants without somebody telling her what she should want. Because, nowadays with society and so much stuff that's thrown at us, somebody asks you what you want, you don't know. Because what I want might not be acceptable to society. They might look at that and say, well, why would you want that? It is my want. Whatever I want, I should be able to feel like I want it, not feel like something's wrong with me for wanting it, because society does everything different. And I am talking from a logical sense, okay? But the woman who can laugh without feeling like it's a performance, that woman is worth finding. That woman is worth getting back to. A lot of times we lose ourselves in relationships. We lose ourselves, not just romantic relationships, but all type of relationships and friendships, parentalship. We lose ourselves and we don't know who we are anymore. And I do believe we do get to a state where we're evolving and we're becoming the best version of ourselves. But I know from personal experience and from communication, so many women don't know who they are, aside from their roles, titles, and responsibilities. They don't. If you ask them to strip everything away, who are you? They do not know how to answer that. I remember losing myself in marriage and motherhood. It was like when I got by myself, it was too quiet. Like, what am I supposed to do? Or if I go in the store and buy something for myself, I'm going to feel bad because I should be buying something for my kids. Like, no, ma'am. You take care of them each and every day. That woman, she's still there and absolutely worth finding. So find her again. Find the real one. Not just the one who's surviving, but the one who's actually thriving. That is the point of the work, not for you just to survive this life. Survive, live, thrive, enjoy. That is the point of the work. So sign number 6 is that you're always preparing for the next hard thing. I know. So even in good seasons, your nervous system is always already scanning for what's next. Like, you can't fully enjoy peace in the moment. You're always scanning for the very next problem. Your nervous system, the sympathetic part of your nervous system, is made to keep you safe. But when that cycle is stuck, you don't know how to turn off where's the next threat coming from, because I know it's coming. When you've been through enough hard stuff, believing that peace will actually last, that is not real. It's like, that's not a reality. Like, something next coming, or it's always something. You know the phrase people always say, it's always something. If it ain't one thing, it's another. It's almost like you looking for something to come, because life is going to happen. Point blank, period. It's going to continue to happen, but being in a point to where you're hyper vigilant and you're in that constant low brace of waiting for what's coming next, that's exhausting. And nobody sees it. Nobody. It's like only you can feel it. Somebody might be able to see it on your face if they can really read your body language and really pay attention to you, if they watch you daily and can pay attention to you. But it's an exhausting thing that you're carrying, that you're going through. And that is evidence that you are in survival mode. When you can't enjoy the moment, you don't have any peace, you're worrying about here comes the next thing. It's good to be prepared, proper preparation. You have a good performance, but to always prepare because the worst case scenario is coming, that's a state of survival mode. and you can't really enjoy the moment because you got to prepare for what's coming next because you know something coming down the street. That is survival mode. It's almost like somebody in war. They have to be in that state because you're in an active battle, an active war. And it's like you're going through that active battle and that active war inside of your body. You are thinking of things that haven't even happened yet or may never happen. And your body is stuck as if it's about to. So teaching your nervous system that peace is safe, that is exactly the work that is available to you. I always say, get you a coach. I am a coach. Get you somebody who can help you get out of that because I know it's exhausting and I know it's a horrible feeling. And I know you feel like, well, I don't know how to stop this. I don't know how to stop feeling like that. Like I try to change my mind, but then I go back through it. I try to change my mind and go back through it. That's, what do they call it? I think it's neuroplasty. I can't, I might not be saying it right. Plasticity. Anyway, your brain can change. You can literally reroute your mind. But it takes for you to first notice, okay, something's out of order, something's not right. This is a signal that this should not always be this way. We're just going to do a quick recap. Once again, we're talking about the signs that you are in survival mode and you don't even know it. So sign number 1 is that you can perform, but you cannot rest. Sign number 2 is that you confuse being needed with being valued. Sign number 3 is that your emotions feel like an inconvenience and not valid. Sign number 4 is that rest feels like a reward that you haven't earned yet. Sign number 5 is that you can't remember the last time you felt like yourself. And sign number 6, you're always preparing for the next hard thing. But here's what I want you to understand. Each and every single one of these signs is not a flaw. It is adaptation. Your mind and your body has learned to survive in hard seasons. And they did their job. Like your nervous system did its job. If it fought, it fled, and it froze. So you're not in that season anymore. And even if you are in a season right now, that's a hard season, you're going to get to a point where you pass through that hard season and it's going to be gone. And the survival strategies that got you there and what you're still using now, no longer being in that tough season, is keeping you from the life that God has called you to live. So recognizing that is not small, that is actually the beginning. And y'all know I'm not always available. So I always have to leave you with something. I do have 2 Bible verses that I want to leave you with. I read them in the Amplified version. I would recommend reading in the Amplified, but read it in any version that helps you understand and connect with God. But I got 2 verses that I want to leave you with. I'm not going to read them through. I'm going to do some paraphrasing. Okay? Remember paraphrasing. The first verse is Matthew 6, verse 24 through 33. And I'm going to paraphrase. Basically, a simple little paraphrase of those verses that you cannot serve 2 masters, God and mammon, and seek first the kingdom of God. So I'm going to read this to you. So Matthew chapter 6, verse 24 speaks to the root cause of survival mode, trying to serve everything and everyone before God. It calls out the divided loyalty that is keeping you exhausted. So throughout the rest of the verses, Jesus says, seek the kingdom of God and his righteousness above all else, and all these things will be added unto you. So that's, do not seek the career first, not seek the approval first, not seek what people say, the people pleasing first, not seek survival first. When you get that order reversed, when we put everything first, when we put everything else first and trust God with whatever is left, that is when survival mode takes root. You were never designed to carry it all alone. That weight was never yours to hold. And so the second scripture I want to leave you with is Philippians chapter 4, verse 4 through 7. Quick little paraphrase. Be anxious for nothing and let your requests be made known unto God. So chapter 4, verse 4 through 7, it speaks to the anxiety and the hypervigilance of survival mode, the constant bracing for the next thing. It gives permission to release the weight of what you've been carrying. So Paul wrote, be anxious for nothing, and in everything by prayer and supplication With thanksgiving, let your requests be known unto God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds. That peace that he is describing, I want you to hear this. That kind of peace is the kind that does not make logical sense to your current circumstance. That is what life on the other side of survivor mode actually looks like. That peace is not absent of hard things. You know, just because we're followers of Christ and we believe in God and we read our Bible, that doesn't mean that tough situation and tough things won't come. But what it does mean, the presence of that peace, it is what holds you through those hard things and hard situations and hard times. That is what you were made for. Not for exhaustion, not for hypervigilance, not for survival. The peace that surpasses all understanding. And that peace is available to you right now, exactly where you are. So I want to ask you something before we close this video. Of all 6 of those signs, how many of those signs do you see in yourself? And I want you to be honest. I mean, because this is your life. Do not be ashamed about it. Feel free to drop a comment. This is your life. Do not be ashamed about it, because awareness is where freedom takes place. It's where freedom begins once you are aware. You cannot unlearn what you haven't first named. The work of actually moving out of survival mode, rewriting the patterns, rebuilding that relationship with yourself, learning what alignment actually looks like, what it feels like in your body, that is the work that I do every single day with women. And that is the work that's done in my one-on-one coaching. It's the work that is necessary. It is necessary. And I want you to remember that you are not weak. You are not broken. You are a woman that has been surviving when you were made for so much more. I'll see you in the next one.
If you've been feeling a pull towards the Unlearning Survival Retreat, September 24th through the 27th in Charleston, South Carolina, I want you to honor that. It'll be 6 women, 4 days, a complete reset. The webpage to sign up is in the description below. And if you're not ready for that, but you know you need someone in your corner right now, book a clarity call. The link is below as well. Use code GET20 and it gives you 20% off. I'm so glad you're here. And I don't take it lightly that you have given me this time. Subscribe if this has landed with you, because this is just the beginning of what we are building here. I'll see you in the next one.